Imagine waking up tomorrow to find your smartphone can't connect, GPS is down, and satellites have gone dark. This isn't the plot of a sci-fi movie, it's a potential future we're hurtling towards. Welcome to G.O.A.T, where today we're asking, is space running out of air? No, we're not talking about oxygen. We're diving into something just as vital for our modern world and future space exploration, the radio spectrum. It's the invisible air that carries our data, connects our devices, and powers our journey to the stars. But this invisible resource is running out, and the consequences could be catastrophic. From the phone in your pocket to the Mars rovers, from GPS satellites to the James Webb Space Telescope, they all rely on this invisible finite resource. And as our hunger for data grows, as more countries join the space race, we're facing a crisis that could change life as we know it. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is the radio spectrum? Imagine the entire electromagnetic spectrum as a vast highway. On one end, you've got gamma rays with wavelengths smaller than an atom. On the other, you've got radio waves that can be longer than a football field. The radio spectrum is the portion of this highway that we use for wireless communication. It ranges from about 3 kHz to 300 GHz. Different frequencies within this range are suited for different purposes. Low frequencies can travel long distances and penetrate buildings, while high frequencies can carry more data but don't travel as far. Your FM radio, cell phone, Wi-Fi router, Bluetooth headphones, GPS, and even your garage door opener, they all use different parts of this spectrum. And it's not just earthbound tech. Satellites use radio waves to communicate with ground stations and each other. Space agencies use them to talk to astronauts and control spacecraft. Here's the catch. There's only so much usable spectrum, and it's getting crowded. It's like a limited number of lanes on our highway, and everyone wants to drive. So how valuable is this invisible resource? In a word, astronomical. In 2021, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission auctioned off a portion of the C-band spectrum for a record-breaking $81 billion. That's more than the GDP of most countries. And it's not just the US. Globally, the value of spectrum licenses has been skyrocketing. Why? Because as our world becomes more connected, access to the spectrum becomes more crucial. 5G networks, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, they all need spectrum. And as we push further into space, the demand only increases. Take SpaceX's Starlink project. They're planning to launch thousands of satellites to provide global internet coverage. But to do that, they need a slice of the spectrum pie. As one industry expert put it, spectrum is the lifeblood of the wireless industry. Without it, our connected world simply couldn't function. But it's not just about money. Control over spectrum can mean control over information flow, technological advancement, and even national security. So who's in charge of this valuable resource? Enter the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU. Founded in 1865, the ITU is a specialized agency of the United Nations responsible for all matters related to information and communication technologies. The ITU divides the world into 3 sections and allocates spectrum on a global scale. But here's where it gets complicated. While the ITU sets several guidelines, individual countries have a lot of say in how spectrum is used within their borders. In the US, the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, manages spectrum. In the UK, it's Ofcom. Each country has its own regulatory body. These regulators divide spectrum into bands and decide how they'll be used. Some bands are reserved for government use, like military communications. Others are auctioned off to private companies for commercial use. But not all countries are created equal when it comes to spectrum. Developed nations often have more say in global allocations, leaving developing countries at a disadvantage. As one ITU official stated, ensuring equitable access to spectrum for all nations is one of our greatest challenges. And it's not just about Earth. As we venture further into space, managing spectrum for satellite communications becomes increasingly complex. The ITU is responsible for coordinating orbital slots and associated frequencies to prevent interference. But with the rise of mega constellations like Starlink and OneWeb, the traditional allocation process is being pushed to its limits. As demand for wireless services explodes, we're facing a spectrum crunch. It's like trying to fit more and more cars onto a highway without adding new lanes. The rollout of 5G networks is a prime example. These networks promise lightning-fast speeds and low latency, but they need large chunks of spectrum to work effectively. This has led to conflicts. In the US, there's an ongoing battle between the wireless industry and the aviation sector over potential 5G interference with aircraft altimeters. Internationally, things get even more complicated. Different countries use different parts of the spectrum for different purposes. What works in one nation might cause interference in another. In space, the situation is equally tense. As more countries and private companies launch satellites, the risk of radio frequency interference increases. One space industry expert warns, without better coordination, we risk turning Earth's orbit into a chaotic, unusable mess of radio interference. Looking ahead, the demand for spectrum is only going to increase. The Internet of Things promises to connect billions of devices, from smart fridges to industrial sensors. All of these will need spectrum. In space, ambitious projects like lunar bases and Mars missions will require robust high-bandwidth communications. But it's not all doom and gloom. Technological advancements offer some hope. Cognitive radio systems that can dynamically access unused spectrum could help ease the crunch. Other technologies, like small cells and beamforming, allow for more efficient use of existing spectrum. And on the horizon, quantum communication technologies promise to revolutionize how we use the electromagnetic spectrum. As one tech innovator puts it, the future of spectrum management isn't just about dividing a finite resource, it's about finding innovative ways to use what we have more efficiently. As we face this spectrum crisis, we have two potential paths forward. Each has its pros and cons, and the choice we make will shape the future of global communications and space exploration. Option 1. Prioritize economic growth and innovation. This path focuses on market-driven spectrum allocation. Countries and companies with the resources to develop new technologies and services get priority access to spectrum. Here are the pros of this path. Encourages rapid technological advancement, drives economic growth in the tech sector, could lead to more efficient spectrum use through competition. And here are the cons. May exacerbate the digital divide between rich and poor nations, could lead to monopolization of space-based communications, might prioritize profit over global benefit. Under this model, we might see explosive growth in 6G, 7G, and beyond. Space-based internet could become a reality for millions. But we might also see developing nations left behind, unable to compete for this crucial resource. Option 2. Prioritize global equity and cooperation. This path advocates for a more regulated, cooperative approach to spectrum management. It emphasizes equitable global access and international collaboration. Here are the pros of Option 2. Could help bridge the global digital divide. Encourages international cooperation in space. Might lead to more stable, interference-free communications. And here are the cons. Could slow down technological advancement. Might stifle innovation in the private sector. Could be challenging to implement, given current geopolitical tensions. This approach might lead to a more connected world, with developing nations having a greater say in spectrum allocation. We could see more collaborative space projects, but we might also see a slowdown in cutting-edge tech development. So, Space Goats, which path do we choose? Do we prioritize rapid advancement and economic growth, potentially at the cost of global equity? Or do we focus on cooperation and equal access, possibly slowing down innovation? It's not an easy choice, but it's one that will shape the future of our connected world and our journey to the stars. Let's hear some views on both sides of this debate. Communication researchers say innovation drives progress. By allowing market forces to guide spectrum allocation, we'll see faster development of technologies that benefit everyone. Yes, there's a risk of inequality, but the advancements will eventually trickle down to all. On the other hand, some space experts feel that we can't ignore the global digital divide. Equitable access to spectrum is crucial for developing nations to participate in the digital economy and space sector. We need a more cooperative, regulated approach. One space industry insider says, "The future of space exploration depends on how we manage spectrum. We need a balance between innovation and cooperation, perhaps a hybrid model, where some bands are market-driven while others are reserved for global initiatives." While another telecommunications industry expert says, technology itself might solve this dilemma. Advancements in dynamic spectrum access and quantum communications could fundamentally change how we use and allocate spectrum. We need to invest in these technologies. Now it's your turn, Space Goats. We want to hear your thoughts on this cosmic conundrum. If you were in charge of global spectrum policy, which path would you choose? The market-driven approach that could accelerate innovation but might leave some behind? Or the cooperative model that prioritizes equity but could slow progress? Share your decision and reasoning in the comments below. Engage with other viewers' perspectives. Let's start a dialogue about the future of our connected world. And don't forget to vote in our poll. How should we manage the radio spectrum crisis? You'll find the link in the description. If you found this video thought-provoking, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest questions facing humanity in the space age. The radio spectrum crisis might be invisible, but its impact on our future is immense. As we push further into the digital age and deeper into space, how we manage this finite resource will shape the course of human progress. Whether we choose a path of rapid innovation or global cooperation, one thing is clear. We need to act now to ensure that the air of our wireless world doesn't run out. Remember, Space Scouts, the choices we make today will echo across the cosmos tomorrow. Until next time, keep looking up and listening.